Everybody, this is Tom from Nebula. You're listening to The Vinyl Guide.
Well, hey there, peoples. It's Nate here, and guess what? We are in day 2 of our full week of shows celebrating the Live in the Mojave Desert concert and vinyl series, with episodes all week featuring the amazing bands that were part of that ambitious and wonderfully executed project. Earthless, Stoner, Mountain Tamer, Spirit Mother, and Nebula, who is featured in today's episode. The immensely charming Tom Davies joins us today to talk all things Nebula, how he went from guitar tech from behind the stage to being up front, the history of the band, the slowdown, the reviving of Nebula, and of course the Mojave Desert concert. Nebula's amazing set is available on some beautiful vinyl pressings at liveinthemojavedesert.com, or you can pick them up at Heavy Psych Sounds. And aside from the Mojave vinyl, there's a Blu-ray of the show and other albums from Nebula. So pick them up now and enjoy this incredible band. And for those of you unfamiliar with the Live in the Mojave Desert concert series, this was a live stream concert series put on at the peak of COVID times in 2020. The producers thought maybe they'd do something really incredible for those of us who were hanging out on the couch with nothing else to do, and they got together 5 incredible bands and put on a modern day concert movie, similar to like Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii. This was live streamed at the time, but it's now available on vinyl and Blu-ray video. Go to liveinthemojavedesert.com or heavypsychsounds.com and you can get all the band sets on vinyl and video. And there's even more great news, especially if you're a patron of the show at patreon.com/vinylguide. I'm always throwing extra stuff up there and giving super early access to different interviews. This week, I've even put an additional episode up there, a secret episode, only for patrons of the show. And it's not too late. If you're not already part of that club, head up to patreon.com/vinylguide. Sign up now, help support this show. You'll get a bunch of extras and you'll feel good about yourself because you're putting burritos in my belly as I'm pumping out these episodes. That's hugely appreciated. Patreon.com/vinylguide. Enjoy the extras. Alrighty, you guys ready to talk to Tom Davies of Nebula? I certainly am. Let's do it. Hey, Mr. Tom.
Hi, how you doing? Can you see me, my picture at all? Or?
Good. We're it looks like we're in the middle of this Adam Sorkin film, Walking Through Hallways.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just at home right now.
Into the studio, I see.
Yeah, my little haven.
Very good. And where is home, Tom?
Joshua Tree.
Okay.
California, yeah.
All right.
So I moved up here about, was it July 2019? Mm-hmm. I had to move from the place I was at in LA, and yeah, it was just it's incredibly expensive, and I got animals and that kind of thing, and don't want to live in an apartment, and my choices were basically nothing. So
live in a van or go to Joshua Tree.
Yeah, so I got offered a place out here on a ranch. It's like a working equestrian center, and the rent was perfect price, like better than perfect, actually.
Do you know Jeanette Napolitano?
No, I don't think so.
She lives in Joshua Tree.
Okay.
She also is quite into horses.
Yeah.
She's the singer of Concrete Blonde.
Okay.
And she was on the show, it was a couple of years ago now. But I don't know how big the equestrian community is out there. It must be big enough to where you don't all know each other.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm not part of the equestrian community. I don't actually ride horses myself. It's just where I got offered a place. But
you don't eat them, do you?
No, God, no.
Okay.
God, no.
All right.
Not by choice, anyway. After a scandal in the UK a few years ago, it seems like everybody was eating a bit of horse meat in their frozen meals and that kind of thing. So
that wouldn't surprise me at all. So you're originally from the UK. That's where that accent's from.
Yeah. Yep, that's right, London.
And what age did you go over to the US?
Can't remember now. It's like 2004 I moved here. Yeah. And it was for a girl, and at the same time the Nebula thing came up. Mm-hmm. So I'd been working for them for a few years anyway, And they'd flown me out. They'd fly me around for tours as a guitar tech, roadie, that kind of thing.
Ah.
So
you made the transition from working on the guitars to playing them on stage and on a record.
Yeah, I got a downgrade.
Yeah. You went from guaranteed check to, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
So let's, before we get into that, because I'm fascinated about that. The your youth. So you grew up in the UK.
Yeah.
Around which area of the UK did you grow up?
I was born in Wales, Southwest Wales, because Dad was Welsh. Mum's from London, so I was born in Southwest Wales, and then they moved to London when I was about 2 years old. So it's Southwest London, Wimbledon area. And I was there until, I guess, 2004. So whatever age that makes me now, I can't even think. I think it's about 28 or something when I moved here.
You 20. Okay. All right. So your youth, your early musical memories, your first bands, all of them were based in London.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, my dad loved the Rolling Stones, country music, and basically a lot of 60s stuff. And Mum was into the Beatles and classical. Mm-hmm. She played piano. So there's music was always around to an extent, you know. And I used to skateboard with friends and things. And, you know, we'd get the videos like the Bones Brigade videos and that kind of stuff and the Santa Cruz videos. Mm-hmm. And that's how, because it wasn't like the US. You didn't get like rock or punk rock or anything like that on the radio at all. It was like, you know, playlists of the same songs over and over again, you know, Thin Lizzy or whatever, if there was anything at all. Yeah. So that was kind of one of the only ways we were exposed to any cool music kind of thing was through skateboard videos.
Yep.
So like Black Flag and, you know, all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it turns out Eddie was making music with Neil Blender, skater, for a lot of videos back then as well. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, we did an episode with Bad Religion not too long ago. Sorry, I hate to keep name dropping, but they brought that up. The skateboard videos were actually really integral to them building a name because you're right. There was no radio. There was no punk rock on MTV. Yeah. You either had to go to a hardcore show or have a community that really, really knew, or these skateboard videos were something that just, I've heard them called the first viral videos, which I think is probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And you can't turn away from watching people wipe out on a skateboard. Were you skating as well?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I skateboarded for about 10 years. So, yeah, it's a big part. One of us would buy a video and then it would go around. If we could copy it, we would. But it would make the rounds between our group of friends, you know, and then we'd record the music off the video just so we could hear the music and that kind of thing, you know, like we either with a microphone into a crappy tape recorder or however it was that we could like get to hear the music and that kind of thing. So
were you more interested in skateboarding or playing music at the time?
At the time, well, I started playing guitar at 15. So initially it was skateboarding, but then, I was like loving the music, and I just I bought a cheap guitar, like for, I think £25 off a friend of mine, and just started picking away at it and kept going and going sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm still picking at it and trying to figure it out.
So what's your worst skateboard injury?
I was pretty lucky. I didn't have any really bad ones. I landed on my head a few times where I had like a large sort of egg-sized lump on my head, and my mum was a nurse, so she'd wake me up in the middle of the night with a flashlight in my eyes, seeing if I'd got concussion and that kind of thing. But I was actually really fortunate, just a few scrapes and that kind of thing. But I had some friends that sort of face planted and cracked teeth and, you know, like awful things.
Yeah.
Awful things.
You got all your original teeth? All those?
Yep.
Very good.
Yep. What's left of them at the front anyway. The missing ones are all at the back.
I've got two sons. One of them skates and the other BMXs. So I know at some point we're going to have to, you know, spend on some dental bills. Hopefully not, but
yeah, so the BMX one scares me.
Yeah,
you know, that was always like a scary thing. It was always, if we got to go to skate parks and there were BMXs, it was like a lot of respect for the BMXs because, if they mess up, it's
a big machine to be moving around. And the shit they do today, even skateboarders, it's like, whoa, that is, how do you even approach doing that sort of thing? Anyway, so when it came to music around the house, did you have many records? Was it a house with records in it, or was it cassettes, CDs?
My parents had vinyl, a lot of vinyl, just from their years growing up, and so there's a lot of vinyl. And I started by, I think the first single I bought was "She's on It" by the Beastie Boys, the 7-inch single. When we went to visit my grandparents, we went down the high street, and there was a little record shop there, and they had it in there, and so that was my first single.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that is, tapes, a lot of tapes, because you tape things off your friends and stuff. So poor quality recordings of recordings sometimes, but you didn't care at the time,
Mm-hmm.
So initially, it was like vinyl and a lot of tapes, like a lot of cassettes, and because there was no, internet or anything like that. When you wanted to find a new band, it was like often I picked them by a record cover,
Mm-hmm.
If I like the look of the record cover and the name of it, and it was, when you go into the store, it's like, okay, I'll try this one out.
Do you remember any of those that were successful?
Yeah, there was a Motorhead record. There was a Sepultura record. That one was Arise, I think it was. I just liked the artwork on it, because I was into rock and metal. And what else was there? I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, there's swapping with friends sort of thing. Someone gets a new tape and they're raving about it. So yeah, it was.
You mentioned getting interested in early punk and a lot of maybe out of LA, out of California, Black Flag and the like.
Yeah.
Were you able to find much of their music in the UK?
Not really. Not in my teens. Not until sort of like got into them, and probably I just didn't know really where to look as such, because I was in this sort of the suburbs of London, and we go up to London, central London and stuff, where there was record shops or whatever, but it wasn't like a thing. We usually ended up getting a tape from somebody, a copy of something. So that was how really got access to any of that stuff. I mean, I don't know if it was around, like if they were selling records at all anywhere, but not where I was anyway, and looked sort of thing. So
did you catch many shows?
A few shows. Like started, because it was a lot of the venues were 18 in London, so it was difficult to go to shows before that sort of thing. So we got to go to a group of friends sort of thing. We get together and get tickets and go to all sorts of shows. And actually there was a local band. They were called Scum of the Earth at the time, and they'd have like shows at a place called the Crypt, which was below it was below the church of one of the local schools, private schools. And they'd have shows there on sort of like once a month on a Friday night, and it was all underage people smoking pot and drinking beer and that kind of thing. But that was a lot of fun, actually. It was like kind of a do-it-yourself, attitude, and just making our own fun for that scene sort of thing. So
were you playing any of those shows at all by that time, or were you still picking away, just trying to figure out how the thing worked?
No, it's funny. I was just picking away. Like I was playing myself, playing at home, and I played with a few friends. I would just jam around the house, but nothing really, not really doing anything. And then people would pick up instruments and they'd put them down and walk away from them. And I was only kind of one of the only ones left, actually, that kept going at it, kind of thing, So and it wasn't till my early 20s that I ended up meeting up with like bands like Orange Goblin and Hangnail at the time, and finding more people then that were into the same things I was, And then Orange Goblin actually took me out on the road as their guitar tech and that kind of thing. Actually, it was Lee Dorian from Cathedral and Rise Above Records.
Right.
He owns Rise Above. He gave me my first start, roadieing and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. How did you meet up with Lee?
I met him at a show in Eindhoven in Holland. It was after one of the Dynamo festivals, and ended up backstage and just ended up talking to him and saying it's the sort of thing I'd like to do. And he just totally set me up, and he sent me out. My first tour, I think, was with Hangnail and Unida, which was John Garcia's band from Caius. And that was the first tour I did. It was like 3 weeks around Europe.
Got it.
Yeah, and they just kept sending me out with bands, and then you meet other bands and they ask you to go, and snowballed.
So that would classify you as a tech, as a roadie. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
And I've met quite a few techs and roadies, and they say it becomes a bit addictive. Being on the road and doing that sort of work and being in those sort of environments. Is that what you found?
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And, you're going to find that out pretty quickly, living in close quarters with a lot of people and constantly on the move sort of thing. But yeah, I loved it. I've made some really good friends over the years, and yeah, there's nothing. It's kept me going for like over 20 years now, touring and traveling like that. So,
what made you a good guitar tech?
I wouldn't say I was good. I never said I was good.
Well,
either.
You kept getting hired and rehired, and other bands hiring, so you got to be doing something, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what, but I don't know. I didn't know as much as some techs. I was just picking things up as I went along. Yeah, I guess I was just always willing to help and ready to help, and whenever, and always ready, basically.
Right.
So yeah, it's just, I guess, kind of the right attitude, you could say.
There's the attitude, but attitude will take you so far. At some point, I would imagine, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but as a guitar tech, you need to keep the second guitar ready in case something in the first guitar screws up. So a good guitar tech, I imagine, would have to have really good spidey senses to have the right thing ready just in case something happens and be able to deliver when that occurs.
Oh yeah, and you pick that up as you go along. You kind of sense that, and once you've been out with the band for like at least a week or so, you get to understand how they work, and you recognize signals and that kind of thing. So the first time I went out with Nebula, it was with Orange Goblin, I think, for 10 days around the UK. And on the first night, Eddie had lost his pick while he was playing, and he was shouting at me, "Pick, pick." I couldn't quite understand what he was saying, and I didn't realize, because I called them plectrums at the time. And he turned around and actually said it, during the show, he's like, "Plectrum," and it was like, "Oh, okay." So,
what's your on the road? And this may be a painful memory, but what is the moment that you look back on as a guitar tech and cringe the most?
Oh God, there's probably a lot. Probably blacked it out of my mind as well. Oh, maybe just being like
your biggest stuff up, right?
Oh yeah, stuff up. I did actually. Well, one time it was with a band called Alabama Thunder Pussy, and the sound man asked me to get the guitarist to turn down his amp a bit, and I foolishly went and did it myself a bit. And yeah, soon later, don't touch other people's, don't touch people's amps and stuff and mess with their tone, sort of thing. He was cool about it, but because he was, we'd been out for a while and we got quite friendly. But yeah, I learned that that was kind of not doing that again.
You overstepped your jurisdiction.
Yeah, and I had the best intentions, but it's I learned that one. That was I wish I'd never done that.
Now, I would imagine a lot of these shows, there were physical altercations. There was some crowd rowdiness. What were some of those moments?
Yeah, most of the bands I've toured with have been the crowds have been generally pretty friendly, and people get drunk, and you get the odd person sort of that wants to get on the stage a bit too much and stay on a bit too long, sort of thing. So remove them, but generally it's everybody's good spirited about things. I remember where is it now? It's in Quebec, in Quebec, in Montreal. There was, I think it's called Le Fou Fou Electrique, the club. Everybody was so wasted that night, and I was with Nebula. They'd gone off stage, and they wanted an encore, and they were banging their glasses and things on the stage. And glass was flying everywhere. It was crazy. You had to actually shield your face from smashing glass. And once glasses started smashing, people started smashing more glasses. And so, yeah, they ended up coming out for 2 encores for that show in the end. But apart from that, I don't think there's been anybody really out of line or
that
kind of thing. There's been the odd punch ups with people after shows, outside, loading in something or loading out, and someone tries to steal something, we actually had a couple of guys. I was with Orange Goblin when we were in Nottingham, and it was with Grand Magus and Roadsaw as well. So there was 21 of us on a bus for 6 weeks, and 3 guys just got onto the bus. Like, they didn't even go to the show. They were just random guys. And they just got onto the bus. A lot of people were in their bunks, and they just started walking through and picking stuff up. And that kind of ended up in a bit of a punch-up outside. Outside of the bus. They were kind of ballsy to, just step on, and they were drunk, but still, walk onto a bus. But they didn't realize, I guess, how many people were on that bus at the time. So
hey, you mentioned you mentioned thieves. How do you deal with thieves on the road?
You either catch them or you don't.
Yeah, and when you catch them, what sort of justice occurs?
I mean, there's been the odd punch-up kind of thing, but generally, like, anybody that's been caught I haven't seen anybody really get hurt over it, because anything that has been stolen, like Rome is terrible for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Whole vans will get stolen with gear. The van will go into the club and they'll come out and to unload, and like the van is gone with everything in it. So, I mean, yeah, there's not so many people try and steal a shirt at a show kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
from the merch table, or steal a record from the merch table, but they end up getting thrown out because they're usually drunk or something at the time, and it's not long before they're ejected anyway by security. So,
have you had a whole van be stolen on a tour?
No, not personally, but I know of bands that have had everything go mid-tour, and yeah, I can't imagine. We've nearly lost equipment and not had equipment show up because of flights and connecting flights, that kind of thing. But
okay.
But nothing stolen that I can recall.
Okay. So you're the guitar tech of Nebula.
Yeah.
At some point, as you say, you get demoted or promoted, whatever, from backstage to the stage. How did that happen?
We'll be back after these messages.
Hey everyone, I gotta tell you about the Groove Washer, a record cleaner I use every day, and I've used it for years with nothing but excellent results. Not all record cleaners are equal, and not all of them are proved safely tested long-term for record storage. I mean, God forbid you get one of those cheap no-name brand record cleaners only to find out 5 years later that it slowly ruined your vinyl collection. Get a Groove Washer, ask for it by name at your local record shop, or go to groovewasher.com and use discount code VinylGuide10 at checkout. That's the Groove Washer record cleaner, groovewasher.com, promo code VinylGuide10. Now, we're also brought to you today by AudiofileUSA.com, the used record shop that only sells excellent and near-mint vinyl records. With over 42,000 titles in stock, AudiofileUSA.com ships anywhere in the world. No need to guess the condition of anything at AudiofileUSA.com. All the records look pretty goddamn new and gorgeous, even if they have sat in storage for a few decades. Head up there now, AudiofileUSA.com, search by genre, label, artist, dig deep and find the deals. Get a box of goodies today from AudiofileUSA.com, home of the Holy Grails.
Now we return to the program, already in progress.
No limits.
So you're the guitar tech of Nebula.
Yeah.
At some point, as you say, you get demoted or promoted, whatever, from backstage to the stage. How did that happen?
So they'd flown me out for a tour with Clutch and Mastodon around the US. And before the tour started, I'd met a girl. I'd met her in LA, and we kept in contact during the tour. And after the tour, I'd got sort of like about 10 days sort of holiday vacation time in LA. And so I was hanging out with her. And she was a friend of Eddie's ex-wife, actually. And anyway, I went back to the UK and we kept in touch. And I came back out to see if it was going to go anywhere. And during that time, Isaiah from Earthless he'd played bass for Nebula on that Clutch Mastodon tour. But he parted ways with them. And Eddie was like, Eddie and Ruben were looking for a bass player. And I would go down to the rehearsal space with Eddie and play with him. We just jam around, messing around sort of thing, because he plays drums and he's actually as good a guitarist as he is. He's even better drummer. He's truly incredible. And we started playing Nebula songs one night because I knew all the songs. I'd heard them all. I'd seen them played hundreds of times sort of thing. And yeah, we were playing them, and he just stopped and said, "You should just play bass." And I was like, "What? Really? Oh, all right." That's it. Ruben came down to the rehearsal space. We rehearsed a few times. I had to go back to the UK because of immigration things, and came back, and I think I had like 3 rehearsals, and then we had a show with High on Fire in Long Beach, my first show, and then we went out on tour for 5 weeks. A couple of days after that. So I had a handful of rehearsals before being dropped in the hot seat. Sort of
Did
thing.
you still have to do the guitar tech duties? Were you doing double duty at that time?
Well, I didn't have to, but I kind of felt obliged to in some weird way. Like I couldn't let that go initially. So I was doing a bit anyway. And I still do it like to an extent this day because, I know how like things set up and I know how Eddie's stuff's set up. So I actually know it better than he does himself. So I always sort of like do a bit kind of thing because I enjoyed it.
It's not unpleasant.
No, that's it. And then if anything's screwed up, you've only got yourself to blame.
Yeah.
So,
but before Nebula, you had a band, The Freaks. Yeah.
No, that was after Nebula, mid Nebula.
Okay.
That was when Ruben left Nebula, he started The Freaks. That was his project. I forget what year that was, like 2008 sort of time. And he started that and had a bunch of friends play on the record and whatever. And he ran with that for a few years. And then it kind of went quiet for a while. And when we took a break around 2010, I was playing with some other bands, like LA bands and sort of thing. And it was about 2011, maybe 2012. I got a phone call from Ruben saying he was going to pick The Freaks back up. Would I be interested? And I was like, I enjoyed playing with Ruben. Like we got on, and I said sure. And so, I did 2 records with them. I ended up, we recorded in studios, and then I ended up mixing the records myself, and the band.
Okay.
And then I kind of quit that and went back to Nebula when Nebula started up again. So
now, what was the conversation like when Nebula was about to start up again? I'm assuming everyone thought it was dead, it wasn't going to happen, or was everyone pretty comfortable with the fact that it was just on pause for the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. We didn't break up, and it was just, we're exhausted. We toured a lot. We're both injured. I'd got herniated discs. And Eddie had got a messed up foot. And, we were just burnt out, and it was just, we couldn't go anymore. And when we started, we didn't see each other. We would see each other randomly around, but then sort of Eddie would come over after a while, about, I think it was like 2015, 2016. He'd come over to my place in Hollywood, and we hung out, and we were just messing around, playing guitars sort of thing, just fiddling around and just chatting about, shooting shit about whatever, old days, and then whatever was going on sort of thing. And we didn't entertain the idea as such, but around then, our booking agent, Sabine in Germany, she reached out, and she'd reach out periodically saying, "You guys ready to start playing again? Come on, start playing." It was a very German, stern way. And I got a message from her on Facebook saying, "Hey, you guys ready yet? You guys have had an offer in Spain to play a festival. Would you like to do it?" And I talked to Eddie, and it's like, well, we don't have a drummer. Ruben was doing his Freaks thing still. And we decided if we could find a drummer that fit, then we'd do it. And we found that in Michael Amster, or Mike Amster, or My Hamster, as he's also known as. And I played with him for a few months in a band, and he's a fantastic drummer, and he had the sort of like the attitude that we were looking for, and he could put up with our shit, if we ever gave him any sort of thing. So he auditioned, and within 2 or 3 songs, you knew it's like, yeah, he was right, sort of thing. So yeah.
And what year was this? This was
2016, I believe. Okay. 2017. It's a bit of a blur, but I think it was around that sort of time, the end of 2016 at least.
Okay.
September, October.
So that was the point where the Nebula machine started whirring back into action, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So you guys started touring from that point on. Was it jumping right back into it? Did that festival then result in 100 dates in the next year, or was it here and there and slowly kind of climbed out of that period of inactivity?
Well, it kind of, we booked that and there was a tour booked around it. But once word got out, we were sort of playing again. Then other festivals wanted us to, play play there. And then I think it was Desert Fest in London, which kind of sounds funny, but since there's no sand in London except for on building sites. But we did we went out in sort of March, April time to do a bunch of shows based around Desert Fest. And then we went back to the US for I think a month or something, 2 months, and then we went back to Europe, and we were there for 2 months touring around all over Europe and UK, doing festivals and our own shows, that kind of thing. Yeah, and then we did the US after that.
So what was the year of 2020 supposed to look like before COVID hit?
Well, we were planning on touring. We were planning on going to around the US. We actually were.
You had some Australian dates, I remember.
Yeah, that's right. We had initially we had a Monster Magnet tour with around the US, and that actually was due to start about, I think it was the day after the lockdown happened, which was, it was kind of looking a bit rough up until that point. We weren't sure, and so that went out the window. So that was like a month around the US, and then after that, we'd got Australia booked, which we were looking forward to, because the band went down there. What was it? I think around 2000, 2001 time, long time ago, and hadn't been back since. And so we were looking forward to that. So that went out the window, and then the European tour went out the window. We were planning on writing a new record as well at the time. So that was, things changed obviously then, but it was actually things, work out for a reason or whatever. Eddie has had his first baby with his girlfriend, Dylan Cassidy Glass. He had Dylan in November. They had him. So it's kind of the perfect time, to have that time off so he could be with his girlfriend and be there for the birth and all that kind of thing. And in that time, we've been writing a new record and just not putting pressure, because we didn't know what was going on. We did a few like webcast type things, like live rehearsals, as it were, just like through a projector, because we rehearse at my house out here in Joshua Tree, and we throw a projector up and some lights or whatever, and just have a live broadcast rehearsal. And then we did a couple of shows. I guess they were kind of illegal, I suppose, but down in Sky Valley, which is just down the road from here in the low desert, at a friend's house who's had parties, and he'd have bands play, like Stoner played there recently, and he's known everybody from the scene for a long time. So, and he has 5 acres, a garage that opens up and there's a bunch of gear in it, and there's a bunch of couches outside circling the garage, and invites friends and bands play.
An interesting thing happens for a scene, a music scene, a cultural scene, whatever. It happened in Los Angeles in the 80s, and the Pacific Northwest in the 90s. I think Austin's gone through this, to where a scene emerges, like South by Southwest, and then over time, and sometimes a very short period of time, it starts to attract a lot of opportunists and maybe corporate sponsors, and it starts to stray from the original spirit in which it began, in which it was intended. In the area of Joshua Tree and Sky Valley, obviously the desert parties and the music scene there have, become quite legendary in other parts of the world. Has it evolved? Is it still very much in the spirit of which, the early days of Caius and Fatso Jetson started, or is it broader now? Like, what is the scene like today?
It's I'd essentially say it's pretty much. I mean, there's certain band like Queens of the Stone Age have had been very successful and that kind of thing, but just it hasn't really affected the scene at all. To where people have got attitudes, or there's no rock stars walking around. Everybody's so down to, like Mario Lally. He just called the other day. He'd found some 2-inch tape in his garage when he was having a clean out of some old Nebula recordings from which record it was from Frank Kozik's label, Man's Ruin. And he called. I was like, hey, just got these tapes. I'm clearing out my house here in Morongo Valley, and come by anytime and pick them up. And dudes like Mario, they're such hard workers, and like they do it for the passion and the love of it. And like there's the Stoned and Dusted Festival that was out here, and Mario was heavily involved with that. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody work so hard and not ask for thanks, or he just does it for the pure love of it. And there's a lot of people like that out here, and the area itself, there's a lot of visitors here for the park, obviously, and then there's Pappy and Harriet's for shows, which I think is going to pick up again soon. But the people are just very earthly, down to earth, grounded people, and might have had brushes with mainstream success or something, and just not liked it, maybe, and turn their back on it. And it's all everything is pretty much, from what I gather and what I see, and stay true to its roots. Basically, people have because it's a big group of friends, and the circle of friends might get bigger, but essentially it's all the same thing. It's just people jamming and having fun and just wanting to enjoy themselves.
Okay. So as a boy who grew up in the UK to now move to the desert, how has that transition been for you? Because that must, literally it is polar opposites from where you came from.
Yeah, I actually, I've had no trouble adjusting at all. I spent a lot of time in Wales because my dad was Welsh, so out in the countryside. So I know what small town living is like, and small towns are the same everywhere, basically. You've got the same types of people. There might be differences on the surface, but essentially you've got the same types of people everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't a shock to me. It gets sort of 105 degrees in the summer here, but we've got air conditioning. But I haven't actually found any issues with it. Actually, it's probably the best move I made in a long time. Yeah. And especially just before the whole COVID thing. Mm-hmm. It's I'd go back to LA and see lines of people in the stores, and it's just oh God. And in the mornings, I guess there were lines of people for Walmart or wherever, but I never went to the store in the morning. I usually go in the evenings anyway. So I actually didn't notice 2020 being that much different to any other time, part of the year or any other time, because I don't really have any neighbors here. I just have horses. I see people. There's people on the ranch and whatever, and see friends, that kind of thing. But I like it up here. And Eddie's moving up here. He's looking for a place at the moment, so we're going to be based out here from now on.
Oh, okay. So perhaps a more accelerated schedule for Nebula coming up.
Yeah, because we're kind of 2.5 hours away from LA, so
it's hard to get together now. Yeah.
Well, it's not so much that, it's just life things going on. Eddie's it never rains, it pours. I just had actually kidney stone. I had pneumonia for 2 months. I was walking around with it. And then a couple of weeks ago, I ended up in the ER again with kidney stones.
Well, that's got to be fun.
And it's great. I had a wonderful time.
That was your COVID project.
Yeah, there you go. And then last night, I drove I had to go to Riverside, halfway between here and LA. And it's about an hour's drive. And I got back into town here, went to stop at the 7-Eleven. And the guy pulls out and smashes into the back of me in his car. And it's just okay, great. Now that, Mm-hmm. It's Eddie's got his own things he's dealing with, and so's Mike. So we've been getting together currently about once every 2 weeks, and they'll come out and they'll stay for a night. We'll do 2 days rehearsal. They'll stay for the night and hang out, and we'll get stuff done. But we just decided not to force anything, not to push it. There's no reason to, it's we just take it and just let it come naturally and be right. And that way, we have with the songs that we have, we'll be happy with them because we'll have somewhat, hindsight to look back on them. And it's not just writing something and then putting it out and then looking back on it and thinking, oh God, we should have done this.
Now, for the songs in the Live in the Mojave set, one of them's new, right? There's one of them that was unfamiliar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we haven't got a name for it really as such. That one's been knocking around for about a year, I think.
Well, you better hurry up and name it. I think the records are being pressed.
Yeah, Yeah, they've been. I've seen them actually. I don't know what it's called for the record, but yeah, we'll figure out something.
So when it comes to the records being pressed, what sort of involvement do you and the band have in that? Like, for example, the splatter pressings. Do you get to comment or say, "Oh, this would be cool, this particular color," or how much are you involved in that?
I mean, we're able to stick our beaks in, whenever we have ideas or suggest things. Gabe at Heavy Sights sounds is great. He's on the same page as us, basically. That's one of the reasons why we signed with that label, because he knows the scene, he knows the band, he's a fan of the band, so he already gets it. When we came to artwork for our last record for Holy Shit, he said, he asked us if we had any artists in mind, and we didn't. So he gave us a list of artists and said, like, these guys are pretty cool, just check them out. And we checked out their work. So we chose an artist, which was Robin Nister. And the artwork was perfect, It was, I love that artwork. And it's like one of those things that kind of grows on you more and more. Well, it did with us. Every time we looked at it, it's like, really, we really like that. So, we can be as hands-on as much, if there's something we hate, we can just, say no, like, please, no. And we get listened to. So it's a good relationship we have with Gabe.
How did the Live in the Mojave Desert set come about? Obviously 2020 was shut down for most people. I think Ryan was starting to put together this festival with a vision of a movie in mind. You guys were in quite early in that schedule, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we'd done Stoned and Dusted, and Ryan called me a few months before, like it was in the summer, getting towards the end of summer, and presented the idea to me and said, talk to the other guys, let me know what you think. Would you be interested? And we all love live Pink Floyd live in Pompeii and the whole concept of that. And I'm actually not a Pink Floyd fan, but Live in Pompeii is actually my favorite live performance ever. I contradict myself, but I'm comfortable with it. So
why do you like it? What was it that appeals to you about Live in Pompeii?
My favorite part is when the cameras roll on those tracks behind the amps, the band's jamming, and it says Pink Floyd London on the back of the amps, and just the openness of it, and just like nobody being there, and they're doing it for themselves, basically.
Right.
It seems like, and it's that's what I really like about it.
That's interesting. That's your view. That was your view as a guitar tech. The back line, behind the back line.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is. It's every time that part comes on, and they just it flashes up Pink Floyd live in London, or not live in London, but London on the back of the amps. It's like, it gives me goosebumps.
What did you have to adjust in the live set or in the music to fit with the Live in the Mojave Desert theme? Nothing
really, because all the songs that we write, generally, we write them as a live situation. So, we demo them beforehand, like someone will write a song, demo it and bring it in, sort of thing. But when we work the songs out, it's all done as a live situation anyway, with the three of us. So essentially, we can pretty much play. There's a few songs that we can't from previous records, but that would take more to get going, to do live. But essentially, we can play pretty much any song that we have, because it's just guitar, bass, and drums,
right,
sort of thing. So we didn't actually have to adjust anything. We just had to figure out. We were given a length that we had to fit our set into, and we just sort of picked it out, ran through a set, and timed it, and it's like, that will work. Awesome.
Okay. Do you play many desert parties? Like, are you used to being out in the desert and getting, sandstorms and sand in your gear? Is that a familiar state for you?
I mean, we've done it. Like, I've done it over the years. So it's not no strange thing to have, sand in all your gear and all your cracks and everywhere else. But we did a few parties last year out here in the desert, sort of thing, just low key things, because everybody's, people they were screaming to do something and just get together, sort of thing. So it's and it's nothing quite like playing outside as well. It's great playing festivals, bit different because there's, stages and big production sort of thing. But when you do it out here, it's sort of like lo-fi, just your gear and maybe a PA that's enough for the vocals to go through sort of thing. And there's no frills basically. And it's great. The music speaks for itself then sort of thing, without a big production behind it for visuals and all that kind of thing. So
now I noticed in the background here, you've got a lot of records up on the wall. Are you a vinyl collector? Do you have a box of records or a shelf of records?
I do. I have records here. I've got most of my records are back in London. Well, yeah, with my mum's house. Mostly I've got like posters up on the wall here. Yeah, there's a lot of show posters I've got up mainly around the house. Not all Nebula, but mostly Nebula. I've got like a Gibby Haynes one and some Monster Magnet and stuff.
Oh, fine.
And an MC5 one. You just pick them up over the years, and I got this big box full of posters, and it's like, okay, time to put them up, but then you need frames. So out here is actually great. There's a good flea market here where you can go and pick up cheap frames and that sort of thing, charity shops and wherever.
Do you collect anything?
Guitar pedals. That's my thing, really.
Okay.
I've got about 60 or so at the moment, guitar pedals. I started making them for a while. I found out how easy it was to make a basic fuzz pedal. And it was like, holy shit, I can do that. So, and it gets a bit more difficult and complicated than that, once you go beyond that. But like guitar pedals are my thing for the last few years.
Okay.
I go through phases of collecting things, like I collected records. I have a few records here. I don't actually, embarrassed to say, I don't have a record player right now. I need to get a new one. Got trashed in my move out here. But guitar pedals, I'd say. All sorts of things. Fuzz pedals, delay pedals, weird sounding noise boxes.
Yeah.
All that kind of thing.
So if you all of a sudden had a windfall of like $10,000, the first place you would run is an electronics store, not necessarily a music shop.
Yeah. It could be. Could pretty much be that, yeah.
That's where you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I get in trouble in the music shops. I mean, I bought a lot of gear in the last year as well. Like paint the no credit check, interest-free payment options they've been offering are a bit too good to decline, So I've ended up with quite a bit of gear this year.
Be careful with that.
Some synthesizers as well. Been starting to mess with, like Nebula has. We've been messing around with synths, just as like the accoutrement on the records and the ear candy sort of thing. But we used them a bit in the Mojave thing, and samples and just embracing like a bit of the new and mixing it with the old, sort of thing. We're pretty open-minded when it comes to that kind of thing. We don't have to be like all analog or anything like that. It's if it sounds good and it works, like bring it on.
All right. So Tom, I got to say, I certainly do hope you have that windfall of 10 grand, but whether you go to the electronics store or not, that's up to you. Maybe you could buy a turntable with it. That's probably what I'd recommend. I want to let people know, again, remind folks that Nebula has a live set live in the Mojave Desert. It's volume 2. There are vinyl versions available at liveinthemojavedesert.com. Of course, you could also go to heavypsychsounds.com. There's a lot of different kinds. There's a splatter vinyl. There's this one called Beam and Coke vinyl.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of a blue, purple. No, it's a black, clear, marbly kind of one. There's another one called Space Face, which is only 200 pieces. It's purple, it's red, it's pink, it's a splatter. It's a very, and I will, pardon the pun, a very Nebula-esque vinyl design. That's available at liveinthemojavedesert.com. Of course, there's also the live set that Nebula played that's available. You could buy that on video. And I believe at some point it may be streaming online again. Who knows? Go to liveinthemojavedesert.com to check it out. Tom, I got to tell you, Nebula was scheduled to play Australia. I had some tickets to go see you guys at the Lansdowne Hotel. And of course, that's been pushed out. But next time, I'm assuming that everything's going to start to whir back up. I just need to be patient. And I'm really looking forward to you guys making it out here. And I'm sure you guys are looking forward to taking it on the road. And again, good luck with everything. You're always welcome back here on the show. And thanks again for making the time for us.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Mr. Tom Davies of Nebula. Don't forget to check out liveinthemojavedesert.com, where you can order Nebula vinyl, or head up to Heavy Psych Sounds as well. You can get the Live in the Mojave Desert vinyl there, as well as Nebula's album, Holy Shit, available at Heavy Psych Sounds. And again, don't forget, we've got a secret episode up at patreon.com/vinyl guide. Go up there, sign up, and hear the rest of the show. Well, that was episode 2 of our Live in the Mojave Desert series here on the Vinyl Guide. Wonder who's coming up next? Well, if you hit subscribe to this podcast, you'll be among the first to find out. Subscribe to the Vinyl Guide podcast, share these episodes across your social media, tell all your friends, and that is hugely appreciated. We'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. Thanks again. Cheers.